And welcome to this edition of San Diego People. I'm meteorologist Mark Michaels. Now, while there are a lot of things unknown about our ocean, sharks are undoubtedly one of the most mysterious creatures that are often misunderstood. This week on San Diego People, we are diving into the world of sharks by speaking with two experts that know them well. But first, let's begin with the reason why we are doing this episode: the increase of sharks seen in our waters. Within the last few months, parts of the Southern California coastline have been closed on and off because of an increase in shark sightings. Videos posted to social media show them swimming close to the shore. Authorities are even tracking them by helicopter.
This is the Orange County Sheriff's Department. Please be advised, this area is heavily populated at the moment with large great white sharks.
But beachgoers have mixed emotions.
I swim out to the buoy all the time, and I don't know if I'm going to do it this year.
When you know that it's right next to you, it's a little bit fearful, but you know, like they're not really, you're not their main prey item.
This comes after a San Diego woman, Leanne Erickson, was attacked by a shark while she was swimming in the waters off San Onofre State Beach in a popular surf spot called Churches. That's why lifeguards across the coastline aren't taking any chances.
If we do see that larger fish, larger shark with behavior that's close to shoreline or looking like it's feeding, then we will take that step. So we do have an action plan, a shark action plan.
All right, joining us first to talk about this, Nick Wegner, a research fisheries biologist from NOAA Fisheries. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
A lot of folks talking about this. A lot of folks are saying, what in the world is going on? You know, I said there have been a lot of sharks seen off of our waters, but it's not really our waters. It's their waters. We just happen to use it. What is, in a very simple explanation, going on? What's happening?
Well, what's really interesting is that these sharks have actually pretty much always been here.
Right.
And so Southern California, basically from Point Conception down through parts of Baja, Mexico, are known as a nursery ground for great white sharks. And so we see these small young of the year and juvenile sharks showing up off our coast. This is an area where they can find food and do their thing.
Does the water temperature, you know, we talk a lot about La Nina and El Ninos and the water temperatures and the warm water migrating north and all of the things that a lot of times go into our weather above the ocean, but do our water temperatures have anything to do with why sharks are migrating or hanging out along our beaches?
Oh, absolutely they do. These animals are extremely sensitive to different environments. They do prefer different water temperatures, and so do their prey. And so these animals are following their prey a lot.
You bring up a good point. So do their prey. Now, what do sharks basically prey upon?
Well, so these white sharks are relatively smaller animals. I think we're seeing them up to about 9 to 10 feet. These animals are mostly eating fish. So they prey on other elasmobranchs, so that's sharks and rays, so things like stingrays, guitarfish, maybe small shark species like leopard sharks and smoothhounds, and then some other common benthic species. So we see these kind of hot spots, maybe off of San Onofre, for example, and these are likely places where they're finding a large forage base. A lot of these maybe stingrays, bat rays, things like that.
So a lot of the food of which they are preying upon is migrating north, and they're just following that. Is there any situation that, from your standpoint, from NOAA's fishery standpoint, that a shark would not go into? Is there cooler water? Is there a certain type of climate that they are not accustomed to going into or just won't go into?
Well, these sharks are here. They're native to California, so it's not like there's more of them necessarily on an El Nino year or something like that. So they're here all the time. We do see these juveniles in particular. They're usually here from about April, May time, so this time of year going into the fall, October or so. And then a lot of these juveniles, they tend to migrate south into waters off of Baja, Mexico.
Okay. Now, as far as the attacks, you know, we've seen a lot of them. We've heard about attacks. Is this more of a situation of people being in the wrong place at the wrong time? Is this a case of mistaken identity known to the sharks? Or is this just, you know what, we have a lot of media out there today, and a lot of folks are capturing things, and we're just seeing more of them and hearing more about them.
Yeah, and I think, you know, a lot of people are talking about this big increase in sharks. And I'm not sure there is a huge increase. I think the white shark population is actually increasing a little bit. So we've seen with a number of different fishing regulations, and white sharks started being protected in 1994 in California state waters. So we are probably seeing an increase in their population. But a lot of this is we just have a lot more cameras in the water, a lot more people at the beach, a lot of GoPros out there, a lot of media attention. And then unfortunately, when there is this rare shark attack, you do see a lot more coverage, and that gets the helicopters in the air, and now they're actually actively looking for these animals. So if, you know, it's obviously a very unfortunate incident, but if there hadn't been the shark attack a few weeks ago, we'd probably be hearing a lot less about these animals.
What primarily do you study with NOAA and fisheries? What is your main focus?
So I work as a research fisheries biologist. So we look at, basically gather biological information to understand what shark populations and other fish populations are doing, and how we can create or provide the biological information that goes into management decisions to help promote basically sustainable fisheries. So we want to have, you know, healthy fisheries going forward for commercial and recreational purposes, and we want to make sure that those endure for our lifetimes.
Fantastic. Very informative. I enjoyed that. That was great. All right, still ahead on San Diego People. Have you ever wanted to see sharks up close? We're talking to the owner of a San Diego company that gives you that unique experience. That's coming up on San Diego People next. Movie-like. Welcome back to San Diego People. Now, have you ever wanted to see a shark or sharks up close? Joining me now is Martin Graff, CEO of his own company, Shark Diver, that allowed shark enthusiasts to get a closer view of sharks in the water. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
How are you?
Doing great.
This is fascinating stuff, all right? Because other than the shark attacks and the increase in sharks that we're seeing in our waters are the sharks that have always been there. We're just noticing them more. Let's first talk about, are sharks by nature mean animals? Are they dangerous animals?
I always say I love the sharks. It's not a mutual feeling. They're neither mindless killers nor are they harmless pets. And I think the problem is people look at them as either or. And they're apex predators in the ocean. We're not on their menu, but I wouldn't suggest going up and trying to pet them.
Yeah, that might be a dangerous thing.
Right.
What is the main focus? Like when you go down and you dive for sharks, what are you looking for specifically other than a shark?
Well, we specialize in taking people to Guadalupe Island, where it's a seasonal mating aggregation site, where the big females, the males, they go there to mate. And we introduce the divers to the sharks. We have over 200 sharks in the database, so we can identify them individually. And what I love to do is show them how each individual is different. These sharks, you can't say, oh, a white shark will do this, a white shark will not do that. They're individually different, just like people are different.
Right. We've seen a lot of videos and we've seen movies and that type of things where sharks aggressively attack and they're tearing, they're tearing up cages and they're attacking people. That is just the way that they are. It may look dangerous and aggressive to us, but to them, is that aggressive?
Well, for one, if you're eating a steak, you're not aggressive, you're hungry. When you're a wild animal, you have two choices. And a lot of people don't realize that sharks are actually opportunistic feeders. Just like recently when that big dead whale was off the coast of California, huge female comes in and just feasts on it. So they're not always out there to kill something. But, you know, if they need to catch something, they need to kill it. So that's not aggression, that's hunger. Okay. People talk about, you know, bull sharks being really aggressive because they have the more testosterone, but I actually find them to be less aggressive than white sharks because aggression is more how do they treat each other. And white sharks typically try to measure each other up. They kind of know that they're big, dangerous animals, and the other one might be big and dangerous as well. So usually the smaller shark defers to the bigger shark. Now, if the measuring up doesn't settle it, that's when they bite each other. So white sharks are fairly aggressive towards each other if they do not give each other space. So they're not hanging out closely together.
We have a shark video right now with a seal pup. This is a shark video with a seal pup. So what's going on here?
Oh, this just shows that the little seal pups are a lot smarter than people give them credit for. This was a very, very small Guadalupe fur seal, which are technically sea lions. It was just swimming around. Big shark comes in and it goes like, whoa, big shark, hide in the cage, sticks the head back out of the cage, goes like, oh, the shark just went by. I think I'm safe, and went back out. So, so it's not only the sharks that we see at Guadalupe Island. It's like really interesting to see how other animals interact with the sharks, like the dolphins that are swimming around, the sea turtles that we see. And all that.
We were talking in the commercial break that you know, there's been a lot of misconceptions about what sharks feed on and what they don't feed on. They have the sense of blood, and so if they have the smell, for lack of a better word, they can smell that blood, and they realize that that's not from a type of animal that they feed on, then they'll bypass that, right? So it's almost better to bleed than not to bleed.
Absolutely, that's at least my theory. I see how a white shark reacts completely different to blood from, say, a yellowtail, which is a jack, versus blood from a yellowfin, which is a tuna. They're a lot more excited to have some tuna blood in the water because they recognize, ooh, that's the good stuff. That's what they like to eat. So by DNA, by instinct, they don't know what to make of human blood because in evolutionary terms, we have only been in the water for, you know, a fraction of the time they've been around. So we're not even figuring in yet in their instinct, where they instinctively know what we are. So they're not looking at us as, oh, it's food.
Right.
And what's interesting is, a couple of years ago, we had a beach towel that fell overboard. And instantly, 3 white sharks came to investigate. And I mean, it's a beach towel. And it's just slightly moving on the water. And 2 of them jerked away like they're being chased by something. The 3rd one kept circling it, kept getting close to it, jerked away from it again, got closer. I don't know whether eventually it bit it to check to see what it is, but because I lost sight. It just kept going on, the towel's sinking, the shark is following it. But when they don't know what something is, they're not just like, oh, let's go bite it and find out. They're actually quite cautious.
Right. Well, we have some more video. This is video of... Now, this is a shark getting really close to the cage. And now, is this a situation where you're like, uh-oh, we better be careful? Or are you protected? What's going on here? Do you know that nothing's going to happen to you?
Yes, I do know there's nothing going to happen here. And by the way, if you look at this shark, it has bite marks from another shark, which is a little territorial thing. Right. But what this shark is doing is investigating the cages, because when you have aluminum in salt water, it gives off electrolysis. And they have the ambulider Lorenzini, which are very, very sensitive receptors that can detect any electrical currents. So they kind of feel like, oh, what is this cage? But when you look at the shark, it's totally relaxed. When they attack something, typically their eye rolls back because they're trying to protect their eyes from any, prey fighting back. And you see when the shark's getting close here, it actually is has open eyes. It's just investigating the cages. It's not an aggressive thing. It's not even biting. It's just kind of touching it to try to figure out what the cage is.
What happens when a shark does attack a cage? Because we've seen that before, where a shark does attack a cage. What happens then?
Well, actually what you see is a shark that's attacking a hangbait. So a hangbait is typically what we're using to guide a shark to get close to a cage, and they're following. They don't want to bite the cage. they want to get that tuna head. But so if you have a tuna head and the shark is attacking that, it's rolling the ice back, and its momentum is going to follow through in the same direction that it's going. So if it's going for a tuna head and the cage is right behind it, no, the shark is going to hit that cage. And that's what we've seen in these viral videos, where the shark then crashes into the cage. They don't have a reverse. Right. The only shark in history that had a reverse was the one in Jaws, where it's going back up, forward, back, forward. Well, the real sharks, they can't do that. So when they get stuck in something, they kind of freak out. Their eyes are closed. They feel like, oh, I'm trapped somewhere. And the only motor they have is their tail. So they start thrashing around, going forward. So they just go, you know, they're panicking in a way, they're freaking out. And it looks to us like, oh, they're trying to get at the divers, when in reality, they just want to get the heck away from that situation.
Sure, sure. I've got some more questions for you. You're coming up in the next segment. But still ahead on San Diego People, sharks are everywhere in pop culture. We're going to show you some of our favorite scenes with sharks and answer more questions about them. And I have a few more questions for you. We'll do that coming up on San Diego People next. Welcome back to San Diego People. It is no surprise that there are a lot of misconceptions about sharks, especially because of the way they're portrayed in the media. Here's a look at our top 10 favorite shark moments.
Need a bigger boat.
The shark bait has such teeth, dear, and it shows them pearly.
If I am to change this image, I must first change myself. Fish are friends, not food.
And it keeps it out of sight. You know when that shark bites with its teeth, baby, scarlet billows start to spread. Fancy gloves, though, wears old Maggie Heath, babe. So there's never a trace of red. Now on the sidewalk, ooh, sunny morning, lies a body just oozing life. And someone sneaking round the corner. Could that someone
finally
be Mac the Knife?
Hey, who's got my hat?
Look, I'm Woody. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
We're a cement bag just drooping on down. Oh, that cement is just, it's there for the weight to bear. 5 will get you 10 old Mackies back in town. Time to hear about Louis Miller.
That sharks were in space. I had not seen Sharknado 3. I had no idea. And you just met the lady that was eaten in Jaws.
Yes.
She came back to life.
She is. The movie is fake.
Oh, I did not know that. I thought it was real. Let's first of all, joining us, research fisheries biologist Nick Wegner and Martin Graff from Shark Diver Tours. First of all, I wanted to ask you, when the accident that happened off San Onofre Beach, where the lady was bit, what happened there? Was mistaken identity? I know you don't know, you weren't in the shark's head, but what normally happens when they bite a person?
I mean, especially when a juvenile shark bites a person, it's most likely curiosity or trying to identify what it is. If it was a predatory attack, I would think it would have been a bigger shark, because those juveniles, they're just not eating anything our size yet. They're designed to, or their main prey is fish. And so they're not looking at us as food. But What he was thinking, who knows?
What should you do? Let's say you are a surfer and you encounter a shark. We've always heard you punch him in the nose. Well, you know, if I'm swimming and I see a shark, the last thing I'm really thinking of is to punch a shark in the nose. I'm trying to get away.
Right. I think since sharks are ambush predators, just knowing that you see them will reduce the ridiculously small chance that they will attack you even further. Because just like the little video that you saw before with that sea lion, the sharks are not just out there and attacking everything. They know a sea lion is more flexible, it's more maneuverable. So if the sea lion sees it, shark doesn't have a chance. Right. So they're waiting to ambush you. So if you see the shark that's coming after you, or you think is coming after you, just watch it. If the shark sees that you're watching it, you're reducing the chances even further.
Is there anything from a biological standpoint that we're doing in the waters off of Southern California to maybe deter sharks from swimming in and around the area? He had mentioned earlier we are just a blip on the radar as far as how long in the evolutionary terms they've been around. Can we do anything? Are we doing anything? Or is that just something we can't do?
We're not actively doing anything in California that I know of. There are other places in the world where they try to use shark deterrents and things like that to try to, kind of prevent sharks from going into certain beaches and things like that. In California, it's not really a big problem. There are these unfortunate incidences and they are horrible. But in San Diego County over the last 70, 75 years, there's been 2 fatal shark attacks. So, I mean, it's, much more likely, 20 times more likely to, to have a drowning incident at the beach than anything to do with a shark.
That's very interesting. Now, if folks are wanting to dive with sharks, you said you were pulling that bait, for lack of a better word, around the cage. I assume that you are very experienced. You know what you're doing. You have to go with a tour that knows what they're doing.
Absolutely.
What should some of the questions they should ask other than just going with you?
Well, I think, the operators that are down there, they all are aware of the safety protocols, and we're all aware what a hang bait does. It's kind of like leading a shark in a certain direction. And the incidents that we've seen with, sharks crashing into cages are basically inattention by the people handling the bait. Like last year, that big viral video of a shark going through a cage coming out the top. Someone just left the tuna head right next to the cage, and the shark was coming from a direction where the follow-through led it right into the cage, and that's not safe. So when we're pulling the hang bait, we're always aware of what direction is the shark going. So when it's following the bait and it's lunging for the bait, that is not going into the cage. So we're looking to make sure it's parallel to the cage or to the side of the cage, but not into the cage. So the question they can ask is just, well, what's your safety record? Just get a feel for what they value. Like we really value versus, showing people how they bite something, about the other thing. We value and we focus more on giving people a way to identify the shark so that next time they see Shark Week, they go like, oh, this is Lucy, this is Bite Face, this is Shredder. That's the shark that I saw when I was in a cage, and not, oh, I saw a shark that was biting this, or I was a shark, saw a shark that was doing that. So
we got about a minute left. Is there anything you want to add that maybe I didn't ask or didn't touch upon?
Well, something that I would just add is that we're talking all about great white sharks, and they are kind of this huge, magnificent animal. But there's so many other shark species here in San Diego. There's leopard sharks in La Jolla Shores Beach. You can go and snorkel with them. Completely harmless sharks, and they're pretty used to the snorkelers. So you can get out there and actually just enjoy this natural beauty.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say, if you see a shark in the ocean, consider yourself lucky. We're not spending money on chum because the sharks are naturally attracted to us and want to come bite us. We go where we know there's hundreds of sharks, and we have to do something to get them to come close to us. So it's not like, oh, a shark is in the water, it sees us, and I'm toast.
Right.
Nothing could be further from the truth.
I'm going on your tour, by the way.
Well, you're welcome to come.
Or at
I'd
least
love
I'm
to
going to
have
take
you.
my dad, because he's been fascinated with it for years. Before we do go, a serious note, all of us here at KUSI would like to extend our well wishes to Leanne Erickson and her family as she continues to recover from the shark bite. That's it for now for San Diego people. We do thank you for watching. Have a great day.